Good day, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Project Janus, in which we are taking a cheap electric guitar and we are going to go through it top to bottom and replace everything that we can on it and give it away to a lucky student at a local high school. So far, we've made a lot of progress on this guitar. We've replaced the tuners with some really nice ones. We replaced the nut. We've done all the fretwork that needs to be done on this guitar. And we've also created a couple of brand new hand-wound pickups for the guitar, which I think are going to make a huge difference in the sound of this. But before we can install those, what we need to do is, I'd like to replace all of the electronics in this guitar. The switch, the potentiometers. But I also want to replace this junky wiring with shielded cabling. Basically, in a Les Paul style guitar, the two pickups come into the control cavity. They go through the volume and tone pots, and then those feed up through these wires that go all the way through the guitar, all the way up here to the switch. And the switch then switches between either pickup or both, and then a cable comes back and comes over here to the output. That's this red wire. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace all of that with really nice, high quality, vintage style shielded cable. Now, the next question, what style of wiring should we use? And let's actually explore that for a second. All right, so first off, which marker to use on the whiteboard? Oh man, this is really tough. The last time I messed this up. Let's talk about the circuitry in a Les Paul style guitar. In the 50s, they used a different type of a circuit, in which basically it's the relationship in between the volume pot and the tone pot, and the capacitor that goes in between those. Let's draw some circles and dots. We have here your volume and tone pot, and this is the 50s style. Each of the potentiometers has 3 lugs. And what we do is we put a capacitor in between the two of these, and what that does is as you turn your tone knob down, that actually takes some of the high frequencies that are coming in from the pickups, and it routes some of those to ground. And the difference between the 50s style and modern style is pretty substantial. So in the 50s, what we did was we took input from your pickups, and that capacitor, which I'll denote with a C, would go between the output lug of the volume control and the input lug of the tone control. And that's a fairly simple, common circuit. And what this does is the output from the volume control is physically attached to the capacitor that the tone control attaches to. Now, the ground comes off the middle lug. I know this might seem like rocket science to some of you. You know, I'm sure that Kent is putting like equations and space-time continuum up on the screen right now. But what's happening here is that input from your pickup comes in, and with your volume full on, there's no resistance in between this lug at the input and this lug at the output. And as we connect more and more of that ground lug to that capacitor, it's routing just the high frequencies to the ground part of the circuit. And when that's going to the ground part of the circuit, that means it's not going to the output. We use a capacitor specifically of 0.22 because that gives us a specific frequency to route down to earth. And when it does that, those frequencies don't go to your output. That's how it works, basically. Now, this is how it is in the 50s. Let's draw the modern version, shall we? Got a volume pot, a tone pot, same 3 lugs. The input goes to the exact same spot. The output comes from the exact same spot, but that capacitor in the middle is connected a little bit differently. It's actually connected to the input lug of the volume control, and it goes to the output lug of the tone control, and the input is actually connected to ground. So it's a really subtle difference. With the 50s style wiring, you don't really have any type of constraints on using your tone control. The volume control, as you roll it back, you don't lose any highs with that style of a circuit. But at the same time, as you roll your tone control back, you're going to lose some volume from the output itself. So some players like that, and they want to maintain that those highs in their volume control all the way down to zero. But some folks prefer to not have it that way, and that's what drove us towards this modern style wiring. With the modern style wiring, as you roll your volume back, you do lose a little bit of the highs. A lot of players prefer that. As they roll their volume back, they want that guitar to come back in the mix some. So that's a good thing. As you roll your tone control back, it does not affect your volume, which a lot of players want, because if you're, say, a lead guitar player in a band and you roll your tone control back because you want to get that sweet woman tone on the neck pickup, you want that volume on the guitar to stay up there, but you want to roll off some of the highs. So that's a big plus. I think what I'm going to do with this guitar is I'm going to stick with modern style wiring. Now, in our case, there's one other little thing that we're going to do, which is we're going to include these fancy push-pull pots. Now, the guitar already has push-pull pots on it, and those are used for coil splitting. I'm going to do the same thing, only with a much higher quality part that will last the life of the guitar and not give the players some of the maintenance issues that you'll see with the cheaper parts.
There we go. 55.
So this one will be the first one on. When I think of wax potting a pickup, the reason I would do so is because the pickup will be used in high gain situations. So what I would typically do is I would just dunk this in a pot of wax and let it dry. And what happens then is that wax holds those coils in place and mechanically locks everything in place so that the feedback from the speaker system can't vibrate the coils. So that's the normal use case for wax potting a pickup. Wax potting a pickup does change the sound. You get less high end out of a pickup when you do so. Is that really a problem on a Les Paul style humbucker guitar? I don't think so. But I got to thinking, if this thing is going to be out on a football field, you know, being used in a marching band or like just being used by kids, you know, in a case, out of a case, and basically used every single day, it might be a good idea to make this as mechanically sound as possible. So, in this case, I'm going to dunk these pickups. Prepare for a swim. This is just regular old Gulf wax. You can buy it at the grocery store. Gulf wax, it's super, super cheap. All right, let's just go ahead and swim this one too. Do both at the same time. I bought this size of slow cooker specifically so I could do two at the same time. Just heat up the wax. I keep it on low. That way you don't melt the tape that's in there. Learned that one the hard way. But you just like stick these in there for 15-20 minutes and let all the air bubbles come out, and then you gently pluck them out and dry them off. One nice benefit that this has for a pickup is that if it's got covers on it, it waxes the covers, and so you wind up with a very shiny set of waxed pickups. Let's rip the stuff out of the guitar and put the good stuff in. I literally had to go look at the StewMac website to see if I wasn't crazy, but these are all 250K pots. You don't use 250K pots with humbuckers. Maybe that's its secret. Maybe that's why it sounded as bright and clear as it did. I'm going with 500K because that's traditional Les Paul. So this wire right here is one wire I'm not going to replace because this is a wire that actually connects on the other side into one of the bridge posts and tailpiece posts. And what that does is it connects the ground of the entire guitar circuit to the bridge, which connects to the strings, which makes it so that whenever you touch those strings on this guitar, you become part of the electrical circuit of the guitar. And it helps to reduce noise. So I've got an assortment of potentiometers here that we'll use. Remember, we need 2 push-pull potentiometers to replace these guys. And we also need a couple of non-push-pull potentiometers for the tone pots. So what we've got here is we've got a bunch of CTS pots. I am not a shill for CTS in any way, shape, or form. We're not sponsored by CTS. We simply buy CTS pots because they tend to be the best. Another great supplier, if you can get a hold of them easily, is Borns. Borns makes very high quality audio potentiometers, and so you might see me using Borns potentiometers at some point in the future. Before I touch anything, does the shaft even fit? And the answer is no, it does not fit. So this is not going to fit in that hole until we open it up a little bit. Let's see if the pencil trick will work. Not so much. Will pencil even fit in there? Yeah. The problem is I've got so much sandpaper on this that even tightening that down, I am having a lot of difficulty getting that into the hole. Doesn't fit. Okay, fine. I'm evolved from an ape. Apes learned to use and modify tools. So, drill bit, same deal. Voila. Doesn't have to be tight. Should probably do this from the other side, but I'm not gonna, because I'm lazy. Whee! So this is a very expensive 3-way switch, but it's tall, and this is a shorter version. So yeah, as you can see, these are quite a bit different in terms of their size. This one is going to fit inside the Harley Benton a lot better than this one will. I will not have to chisel away, or better yet, try to hog out any wood with a Forstner bit. That would have been disastrous. I also ordered, and this is kind of new for me, I've never actually used these before. This is the Pure Tone branded output jack for guitar. And why are these special? Well, I'm usually a switch kind of a guy, but this is new. This actually has the usual pair of lugs to solder onto, but you see how it's got these 2 contacts here for either side of the tip, and there's 2 contacts as well for the sleeve of your guitar cable. So it's double the amount of contact. It's more likely to remain intact in a guitar that's going to be in use probably on a football field for many years to come. At this point, we have all of the parts that we need all together to complete the electronics suite for this guitar. A couple of 500K CTS push-pull pots that'll let us do the coil switch we want to do, and a couple of 500K non-push-pull, just standard regular 500K pots for the tone controls. We have our orange drop capacitors ready to go, and I typically will completely wire a harness outside of the guitar before I put it in, and have the whole thing just ready to go, drop it in and hook it up, and it's good to go. So what I do is I just use a piece of cardboard. And this is just a piece of cardboard that I've marked the locations the exact locations of the holes in the guitar, and the pots just go in the holes, and it's a handy way to hold them steady. I'm going to use this stuff. This is vintage cloth pushback wire. Pretty expensive stuff, but it's really, really nice. It's nice and stiff. It lets you form it. It goes where you put it and it stays there. The pushback aspect of it is really nice because you don't have to do any stripping of the wire. It's pre-tinned, so it makes it really easy to solder on. And I have it in both black and white. That's the critical thing. In addition to that, I'm gonna keep in line with the, go with the high-end stuff. This is the expensive 2-conductor shielded cabling. We're gonna use this to go in between the harness and the switch. So let's get started. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to start by making my ground scheme, and that will hook up to the output, and then we'll start making the individual connections. At that point in time, we're starting to talk about putting this thing together for the last time and being done. So I'm kind of excited. Pull it. C1. Correct. Okay, so here's the fun part. Getting signal into these comes from our pickups. Getting signal out of these is going to go out to this lovely, very expensive switch, and then come back to this output jack, also very expensive. So we use this stuff. This is braided pushback wire. Very, very cool stuff. Very, very good at rejecting noise. Kind of fun to work with because you have to pick apart the braiding on either end. But let's start by going from each of our volume pots out to the switch. And if I think about in a Les Paul guitar, where the controls are and where the switch is, it's about like this. So we've got the controls down here, the switch up here, and we need to go from here to there. So let's do that exactly. And we're going to leave ourselves a little bit extra on the end, just in case. So 2 of these. And 1 to come back to the output jack. Now this one's got to be a little bit longer. It's got to go across the control cavity. So leave a little bit extra on there. Okay. Now it's important to start labeling things. Bridge, neck, output. I'm laughing to myself because now you guys get to see the incredibly persnickety procedure I have to use to actually work with this stuff. It involves this, a dental pick. If you guys know a better way to do this than what I'm about to do, please comment on it. Somebody teach me how to do this in a better, less persnickety manner. Let's get a close-up. This is the neck output. This is what I've got to do with this stuff. There's braiding on the outside of this wire. and I've got to strip some of it back. And I've got to do enough so that this part can touch the ground and this part can circle around and go to the actual signal. Is I'm not really going to use the braid on this side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to unify all three of these wires inside of the guitar and have only one of them go to ground. And it's going to go to the ground at the output jack. Output jack is already grounded to the rest of the harness, and so that way everything's good. And this is going to be the neck pickup. This is the neck pickup output. Go. Oh, you think it'll reach? Just like 10 inches too much cable. But yeah, this is exactly what we were hoping for. Now we just need to fish this cable through, which ain't hard. These can be pulled out of the work cardboard. This is so much easier than trying to deal with it inside the guitar. Exactly the way we expect it to. I can't believe we're here, but all we have to do now is we have to put strings on it. We put strings on it and we're done. A year ago, I set out to take a cheap guitar, put some really nice stuff on it, and put some real time into it, put some real effort into it. And today is the day to take that result over to a school that has a need for a guitar, and I'm going to give it away, just like I said. I'm not sure how I feel about this. It's not in my nature to give away guitars. My whole life, I have loved guitars so much. I have collected guitars. I own a guitar company that makes guitars. So the idea of giving away a guitar that I worked on really hard for a really long time, that plays really well, that looks really good, on one hand, it feels good to give something like that to a resource in need, like a school. On the other hand, it's a really nice guitar. Yeah, let's do this. Hot out. Well, I gotta say this. It certainly was fun, and even a little bit educational to work on this guitar. It was fun to do because it was for a good cause, and because I love doing this type of work. It was educational in the sense that I got to look at a mass market factory made guitar, one that's not custom made like the ones we make at Tunguska, and see how they're put together, where they cut the corners, and just how a assembly line CNC made guitar looks and feels and responds compared to how one of ours does. And I can tell you that there's two areas that really just jump out to me. Number one, the fretwork. The fretwork was abysmal on this guitar. That said, the fret material itself, it's fine. But that does not change the fact that there was no real hand fretwork done on this guitar. It's like they put frets in and it's almost like they used a belt sander to level the frets and called it a day. It was really, really unpleasant under the hand, shall we say. There weren't any like really bad sharp fret ends or anything like that. It was just the fret material itself was like super, super rough. It just didn't feel very good at all. The other place was the pickups. The pickups worked. I took one of them apart and it was like just absolute bottom of the barrel construction and materials. And the pickups that I put into it are my Aphrodite model. And it's basically the closest thing to well, it's not like a perfect copy of a PAF, but it is a PAF-like humbucker with a few more winds on it, just to bring it up into the modern era. To what people would expect a humbucker would sound like, but it's still got that sweet, creamy, chimey ring to it on a Les Paul style guitar. They sound really, really good in my opinion. And everybody that I've let play them has agreed they sound fantastic. So those two things together took that guitar from being a perfectly serviceable student level guitar to a guitar that a seasoned guitar player would like to play and would pick it up and not put it down immediately. So those are some pretty big differences with this guitar. I was pretty impressed. Oh my God. We're here. Why am I nervous? God, I can't believe this. Let's do this. Hey, just a real quick insert here. So, because of school rules and because of privacy concerns, I didn't shoot any video of the actual handoff of the guitar there at Walnut Hills High School. But it was a pretty quick thing anyway. It was just a case of me meeting with Mr. Peoples, the band director there at Walnut, and basically showing him the guitar, giving him a background on what I do, what Tunguska does, and then just kind of just going through what all was done to the guitar. So he got a pretty good idea of what was going on, and he was super, super grateful for what we were doing, and it was just a real quick thing, no problems, and it made me feel super, super happy to be able to just like be in the position to just hand off something that I'd worked so long and hard on. So that kind of caps it off. It really does make a big difference. But I'll show you what my reaction was as I walked out of the school. Man, I don't even know what to say. Suffice it to say that the band director here at the school is pretty grateful. I'm kind of sad to let a beautiful instrument like that out of my hands. But man, it's a great feeling to give something away and actually be done with this project. So with that one, we're gonna cap it off. Peace.